guys, hopefully this is all working. And you should now see Optimus here. Okay, guys, so this is a new thing we're trying. I wanted to start like a weekly sort of podcast. We are going to be putting this on other platforms so you guys can listen in. And we're going to be covering different topics, okay? Obviously, you guys know me. I'm Gumglamit, obviously. And I'm joined by the Optimus. We're going to be running this together. So do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Those of you may know me as MDA Gaming or as the Optimist. I used to post stuff to YouTube, but I don't quite have the time that Glurmit does. But I do a semi-frequent podcast where I talk about Star Wars, and I also do a podcast for the Guild Alliance that Glurmit and I is in, the Barbarism Alliance. So my friend Rock and I do a similar kind of Galaxy of Heroes podcast where we just talk about GOH and kind of call it a day. But yeah, Glurmit's been one of my friends since you joined
a long time ago.
And it was before you started YouTube, because I remember when you started your channel.
Yep.
And I know we've always been meaning to like do something together, but yeah, I'm glad that we're finally getting started with this.
Awesome. All right, guys. So just a heads up, I need another monitor, so I can't actually see the chat properly. So I got it on my phone. So I'll try and keep up with what you guys are saying. But if I don't reply, I will have a look midway through and we'll kind of pause and I'll catch up with you guys. So today's episode, I guess, is going to be all about territory battles, guys. We're going to be talking about why, like, in both of our minds, we've been talking about this for a while. If you're not concentrating on TB as a guild, you're making a big mistake. Because the rewards from doing well in TB, not just by stars, but in special missions especially, it's amazing. You guys need to be doing that. But before we'll do that, let me switch over the screen here. We are going to just update you guys on progress. And then I can also see the chat for a second here. Right, so you guys should see us again. You can see the game. So this is obviously, you guys know my roster at this point. And I was going to kind of ask all of you guys watching, like, any big upgrades this week at all? Like, because that would be pretty cool to know. In terms of, for me, I finally got my Afra to Relic today, which is actually pretty awesome. I also got Imperial Super Commander to Relic this week. I got Cam to Relic this week. Saw to Relic this week. And I 7-starred my TIE Defender. It only took me... yeah, this is live average. This is live. It is live, guys. It is 100% live. Because this is being put on a podcast, so we're just like, it's a different type of style. Hey, average, it's obviously... Don't think I'm live, man. I'm obviously live. No, this is 100% live. Anyway. Oh, you can't scream slurs. What are you doing, buddy? Are you crazy? Alright, anyway. So that's kind of my progress. Now, give me a second, guys. I'm going to show you this, and then we'll start talking about TB. Alright. Let me bring this up. Alright, so this is Optimus' account. I don't think any of you have actually seen this before. It's a 9.5 mil. Do you want to just talk a little bit?
I think I did a roster review once, like maybe a year or two ago. I think you reviewed my roster once, but I think that's been pretty much it.
So, just so people are aware, how long have you actually been playing the game?
Oh, I just started. It was a little bit before Rey and Kylo came out, so I was like maybe 2 or 3 years into the game.
Yep.
And I did buy the hyperdrive bundle, and I would say I'm not free to play. I do spend a little bit of money. I will buy the Conquest Pass, the $10 one, whenever it comes. If there's a really good pack, like the Lightspeed packs, I bought those. Mm-hmm. And then pretty much everything else is just hot utils and the GAC insights on .gg. I'll usually will buy crystals with gift cards, but that's pretty much about it. I pretty much just limit myself to just the Conquest Pass. But yeah, so I've been playing for about, I guess it's like 4 years now, 4 or 5 years.
Well, it just goes to show, guys. 4 years, 5 years, you can get a decent account. Right, so Average got their Crex to Relic 7. Alex got their Red Trooper to R8. Helate My Soul took Merrin to R5. It's awesome. We're going to be talking about Merrin today, so that's great. And we also have Alex getting Adrad to R9 on the ult. So nice progress there. Alright, guys, let's switch over to the other format here. Okay. Just so you guys know, we are 100% live. I know that it's a different style of stream. Obviously, because this isn't just on YouTube, we just got to talk a little bit differently, right? Because some people will be listening to this in a car or on the way to work or something like that. All right, guys. So the general idea today, let me get Optimus back on the screen here, is we wanted to talk to you about TB. So me and Optimist were talking a little bit ago about how Territory Battles is kind of an underrated game mode. I've been clear on my streams, guys. It used to be one of my favorite game modes in the game. And it's one of those things that a lot of people ignore, but the rewards are just unreal. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is special missions, guys. If you are not doing special missions in TB, you're making a big mistake. So what I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm actually going to put up a poll, and I want you guys to tell me, do you do special missions in TB? Alright, so I just want you guys to let me know, how many special missions are you doing? What's going on there? Okay. No, you can see them, because I've only got 2 monitors. If Discord's minimized, they'll disappear. So I've just got to kind of switch it around. Alright, guys. So let's start. What special missions do we actually have in Rise of Empire specifically? So for I think it's Corellia, we have Young Huns needed at R5, Kira's needed at R5. We then have Dathomir, where you need Merrin at R7, and then you would need Night Sisters at R7. We have Kashyyyk. Is it Kashyyyk or Lothar? One of them is Saw, right? R7. I want to say Kashyyyk.
Saw, I believe, is on Kashyyyk.
Yep. We then have Zepho, which is clones at R7. And then we have Kessel, which is Kira and L3 at R8. Vandor is Young Hun and Vandor Chewie at R9. And then, I can't remember, there's the one with Reaver as well at R8.
It's on the Haven class medical station, and you need Reva and the Inquisitors at R8s. Okay,
so we have quite a few special missions, and all of them give different rewards. So, man, I'm gonna have to quiz my memory now. So for Corellia, it's 15 get free for every win, right? And I don't know if you have a calculator, I can just work it out as well. So if you had 50 people in your guild do this special mission, and everyone was to win, that is 750 get free, right? And just so you guys know, you can buy around about 10 Kyrotechs for every 600 currency of get free. So just by having everyone complete that one mission, which is obviously that's quite a big ask, and that's why we're going to kind of account for that, but you're getting 10 Kyrotechs, which is 20 per month if you do the TB twice, right? But that's not really where the power is. When you start doing the more advanced special missions, for example, Merrin's one, you're actually getting 50 currency for every win. So then, all of a sudden, you're jumping up to 2,500 get free for every single TB, right? Which is 5,000 over the case of the month. And if you was to divide that and work it out based on the Kyrotechs, you're going to be getting... how much is it?
Looking at about a little over 4.
Yeah.
I guess like 2,500 divided by... Or actually, I guess that's 5,000 because it's over the month.
Yeah, so 5,000. And it's 600 for 10. Maths is
so it's about 8.
Yeah.
8.3, so...
Yeah, and you times that by 10 because it's 10 Kyrotechs. So you're looking at like 80 Kyrotechs from one special mission. So basically what we've been talking about is like, we don't know why guilds aren't pushing... Not all of the special missions, because obviously, would you really expect someone to go do Young Hun's mission at R9? Probably not. Same with the Reaver at R8. Like, it's one that I know a lot of guilds that I've been talking to do kind of encourage, but it's not something where we're kind of, they're going out and they're saying, you have to have this done. Let me go check the chat, make sure there's nothing else here. Right, so Jeff is still doing Hoth special missions to get in there, man. You go and have fun in Hoth.
Even, yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about Rise of the Empire, but even in Geonosis, even in Hoth, if you get your whole guild doing all the special missions, like I know in like Dark Side and Light Side Geo, you know, if you're doing the Acklay mission, you're doing the General Kenobi Cody mission,
Yeah.
you can rack up the. It's not to the same scale, but it's more or less the same concept. And like, don't sleep on the special missions pay out honestly more than your TB reward does.
And that is a great chance for me to bring that up. So give me 1 second here, guys. I'm gonna bring up the TB rewards here for Rise of Empire. And you'll see, if you're getting at least 2 of the special missions done as a guild, like decently well, you're actually going to be getting better rewards than if you was getting like 30 to 37 stars, which is absolutely crazy. Alright, so everyone can see you again. We switched over the screens. So Timus said they only do special missions, and that's fair. That's kind of the point we're trying to make here. So guys, you can see this is all the information. This is on the wiki, right? And you can see do you know what? Let me double check this. Yeah, we're all good. Alright. So you can see that in Dark Side we have Merrin Night Sisters at 2,500 you can earn there. We have the special mission with Reaver, which is 1,000 you can earn there. We have on the light side, and then where is it? Here we go. Right, so if you was getting, I mean, let's think. For a good guild, right, we're looking at what, 25 to 30 stars, and then for like a more advanced guild you're looking at like anything up to 37, 38. So if we was looking at about 30 stars, you would be getting 5,300 get free per TB, which is still really good, right? But by doing 2 special missions, guys, you're basically gonna be making what you would have done just in TB in special missions. And that's why you guys just don't ignore TB special missions, because the characters aren't bad. I mean, like we said, you Merrin Night Sisters, you're not going to regret investing in this team to R7 because you can beat Jabba with it, or at least set up counters with it. It beats Zori teams, it beats Starkiller teams. I mean, it's such a great team to have. So investing it isn't a bad idea. And like we saw earlier, Hell Ate My Soul said they got their Merrin to R5. We know it's a high investment. But when you crunch the numbers and you work it out, and you think, I don't know, if we considered even like 30 people won this mission, so if we're accounting for people losing, and we did the 30 times 50, that's still 1,500, right? Which still works out to 20, almost 30 Kyrotex per TB, which is 60 over the month. And what you've really got to think about when you're looking at, you know, these missions, is you need to think about the potential return on investment, right? So just because you're unlocking them now, it means you're going to get more and more rewards. It's similar to like when I've spoken about Jabba a bit in the past. The real value of the mods is in the mods in Jabba, because the second you get him unlocked, you're getting those 70 plus 6-dot mods a year. And if you don't have him unlocked, you're missing out every single month. So as a guild, having people with Merrin, now we're not saying you have to have 50, but if you can get 20 people doing this mission in a more competitive guild, or even 10 people, over time, over the years, this is going to give a massive return on investment. Because we crunched the numbers the other day, right? And it was something like, if you did all the special missions in TB, granted you're probably not going to be doing all of them because there's the, you know, the Relic 9 ones, you would be getting around about 400 Kyrotex per TB. That's 800 a month.
And were we including Zepho when we did that?
We weren't including Zepho's rewards, but it was including a special mission.
Okay. So you know you're talking about like the rewards over time and kind of your return on investments. One of the things to take into account is Kyrotech is kind of like the major bottleneck in the game right now with the new raid rewards that came out. Getting to gear 12 and getting all the gear for gear 13 became a lot easier. You know, again, depending on how invested your guild is in the raids. However, you were usually always limited, whether it was new character releases or whether it's characters that you're farming up, whether you got a GL. It was always the Chirotex usually that will hold you back.
Yep.
Whereas if you're investing in these TVs here, yeah, it may suck to take a team of 5 Saw Rebel Fighters up to R7,
Yep.
or a full team of Night Sisters up to R7. But all of a sudden, if that means that you can shave a month, 2 months, 3 months off of your farming schedules because of all this increased Chirotech or Get 3 that you're getting, that just kind of pays for itself. Because if you can start cranking characters to gear 13 a lot faster, it's like you didn't even relic this team up at all because it just paid for itself.
Okay, so sorry to jump in, but we've got a few comments to read. So Novelty said they just joined the stream and thought they saw 2 glums for a minute.
I've heard that a lot. I'm not gonna lie, my wife tells me all the time. I think the first time she saw you on Facecam, she's like, "I swear to God, like you guys were separated at birth."
We might have been. You never know, guys. We've then got Jeff saying, "Are you my guild leader, guys?" So we're in the same alliance. It's kind of an alliance, but we're not actually in the same guild. Like we're just friends who play the game. Then Bronzium Signal Data become the bottleneck instead. Yeah, that is a really good point. So, like, obviously there's always going to be a bottleneck, but there have been some things released, like a Layers event kind of reduces it a little bit. Again, Layers event got a lot of criticism because it's not like set drops, right? It's, you can get the zeros. But again, if you have Layer, you're going to be getting it. So let's just break it down. Like, a lot of people aren't necessarily at the point where you're going to be under that immense bottleneck, because it's, how do I describe this? Obviously, we're all going to be suffering from not having Bronziums, from not having circuit boards, any of that. But that's more, as you get later in the game, that bottleneck becomes a lot harder. Because, and in the early game, in the middle game, you're still stuck behind Chirotex. For example, Jedi Knight Cal is coming out tomorrow, guys. And how many Chirotex does he need? I actually don't know. I should know this. Let me look this up real quick. I think it's a lot, right? Where is
I think he doesn't need as much as I thought he did.
Maybe it's Carbantes he needs. Let me have a look.
He needs
I got it here.
He needs 500 total. He needs 300 shock prods and 200 computers.
Right. So,
but he does need a lot of cuffs, stun guns, and Carbantes.
Okay. But even so, if he needs 500, how long is that going to take the average player to get without spending? Quite a while, right?
Yeah.
And the point we're trying to make is if you're doing some of these special missions, you're basically paying off for those new unlocks. Because every week, every 2 weeks, we're getting something new. Whether that's a Conquest unit, whether it's a Galactic Legend, whether it's like rework characters, there's always something new being added. Obviously, it's not every week. You guys know that I'm slightly exaggerating there, but the point still stands, right? So if you're someone who's unlocking Cal, you might have just unlocked Malakos a month ago, and then you're going to be unlocking Gideon in 3 months, and all of these things add up. And then all of a sudden, those 500 become 1,500 or become 2,000. Maybe you're someone who wants to go for Lord Vader, but it's like over 1,500 Chirotech, you know? So having this extra income shouldn't be ignored. Now, the downside is it is a real guild effort. Like, it's not something where you can kind of just do it on your own. But the benefit here is it does go into other modes, which is what we kind of wanted to talk about here, right? So where else can we use the teams? So if you get Merrin up and running, you can absolutely use Merrin in TW, right? Merrin is a great team in Territory War, both offensively, and she can do a little bit of work on defense. I mean, Saw's probably the weakest of the teams. I hate to say it, because I do think Saw's a bit underrated. But he's probably the one you wouldn't do. And like we said, we're not saying that you have to go and farm every single TB team, because that just wouldn't make sense. But at least doing a few of them and, you know, doing 2 or 3 of them, right, would be beneficial. So which ones would you say, Optimus? Like, if you was to, you know, tell everyone, which characters would you say are the ones to prioritize in the special missions?
Yeah, so when I'm looking for the special missions, I'm looking at ones that, like you said, kind of have some dual purpose. Night Sisters definitely jump out, because if you get them all to R7, you'll also be able to easily clear the final challenge tier 3 of their assault battle, which, you know, we were talking about relics, carbonite circuit boards, bronzium wirings. That's now an additional level of rewards, and maybe you hadn't unlocked challenge tier 1, challenge tier 2. You know, that's a full level of of material that you're getting every month. So Night Sisters are definitely up there, and I like you said, TW they're okay, but I would say GAC is where they shine.
Mm-hmm.
And not just because I'm a follower of the fandom of Young Han. I would choose Smugglers or that kind of scoundrel faction as my go-to, just because dash is a requirement for the profundity, obviously, and for Starkiller. But there's a lot of combat missions. Specifically, you've got the Young Lando mission in on Felucia, and throughout they have multiple special missions, and like you've seen countless times with Glurmit as well as other content creators, Dash is a really solid team. His GAC Omicron does a lot of great stuff. You see characters, I would say Vandor Chewie is a staple for really any smuggler or scoundrel team that you're going to want to have. I personally would choose the smugglers to invest in, just because you're also getting some combat mission payoff with that.
I think that's a great point, and I kind of want to jump in. They've worked it out, by the way. I am indeed paying you to give Young Han some praise here.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I better be seeing some whatever residuals you're making on this pod. I better be seeing.
All right. So guys, I want to really reinforce this, especially if you bought Lightspeed bundles. You've got Dash at Relic 5. You've got Young Lando at Relic 5. You've got L3 at Relic 5. If you did Young Han and Kira, now, unfortunately, that's not going to be the special mission. But the point is that gives you a whole team. For the Young Han special mission, there's two teams that I recommend, right? The first is Kira, because she has to be in the lead. Young Han, and then you'll run IG-11 and Quill. And then you can run Vandal in the last spot. If you have GL Ray, which Lightspeed bundles come into play again, you can actually run Kira, Ray, Young Han, and then it's L3 and Vandal. So you only need to farm 2 characters for the special mission to work. So that's kind of what we're saying, is we're not saying go out of your way to start farming these teams, because it might not be the best play for you. But if you've already got a lot of the work done, why not finish those 2? Because we worked it out based on the month, but for example, I've still got it on my screen here. So the Young Han special mission is obviously on the neutral section, which I don't know where that's gone. Where is neutral? Dathomir. Okay, apparently neutral is just not here. That's frustrating. But I think it was 15, right? So it would be like the 700 or whatever we worked out earlier.
For the Corellia mission.
Yeah, for the Corellia one.
Yeah, that is 15, which will give you 800 total. And if your whole guild were to do it.
And then if you work that out over the month, you're doubling it. So that'd be what, 1600. And if you worked out over the year, because obviously you want to work out long term, how much would that give us?
I just totally spaced there. I was playing with my calculator. What'd you say?
If we were to work out the 1600 over the year, what number would we get?
Oh, actually, you know what?
I refuse to do math.
The wiki here just gave me the wrong number. I assumed its math was right. So it's actually 750 if your whole guild were to get it.
Yep.
So that's 1500 per month. So then that's 1500 times 12. That is 18,000 GET currency that you're getting. And then if your whole guild were to do it twice a month, every month.
And if you divided that by the 600 for Karatex,
that is 30, or I guess that is 30 purchases you're able to make, which is equal to 300 Karatex.
So just by doing the Young Han special mission, for example, the one that gives the lowest rewards, you're still going to be getting a lot of Karatex per year. And this is the point we're trying to make, guys. It's all about getting in early as a guild, because your rewards are going to go up. And if you're getting better rewards, what does that mean? It means your guilds can perform better in raids, because you get newer characters quicker. It means your guilds can perform better in TW, because again, you get new characters quicker. And it also means there's a higher chance that people are more likely to come join your guild. Because if someone's looking for a new guild and they see this guild's getting this many Karatex additionally, and guys, just bear in mind, you don't have to be spending on this currency on Karatex. You could spend it on the attenuators for modding. You could spend it on the electron conductors. Like, you can use it elsewhere. We're just working out for Karatex for the ease of the tool.
So, not to interrupt you, but to put into perspective, like how many Karatex you would be making from this, if you were to relic, like if you were to use the prescribed teams that Glurmit gave, you could maybe just let's just say you used Kira, Han, you threw your GL in there, and maybe a couple other characters that went with the GL.
Yep.
None of the other smuggler characters. You just geared up Kira and Han for relics for this mission because they're required. They both only need 100 Kyra techs because obviously these are older characters. They came out before Kyros were really a thing. If your guilds were to invest in this mission and relic up these characters and everyone completes it, you get your 18,000 a year, you would have paid for those characters and then some through GET3. That mission would have paid for itself in a year if you were to do that. And again, that is just for that mission there, and this is the least paying mission. To put it in perspective.
So I don't want us to talk too much about the special missions because we kind of covered it in depth here. Also, hey boss, welcome to the stream. Novelty, yeah, I did also pay CG for the Young Han mission too. My bank account is currently empty because of it, right? What I want to talk about now is, if we ignore the rewards from TB, why else are we calling it, the future of the game? I'm going to switch over the screen again so you guys can see what I'm looking at. And what we've kind of spoken about before is you can look at the map for TB. Wait, hold on, guys. Let me just grab this up here for you. Where is it? Interactive TB map. This is easier for me to do than get up the other way. Right, there we go. Alright guys, so you can now see this. I made a video the other day. This is a really good resource to have because it shows you the TB map. You can see all the planets. If you look at each planet, there've been an indication of content to come, right? And this is the other thing. So Dathomir was indication of Merrin coming. Kashyyyk was an indication of both Tarful coming and Saw coming. We had obviously Bracca ended up with Jedi Knight Cal come into the game. And if you kind of look at all the planets, now not every single one has given us something yet, but a lot of them are showing us content to come in the future. So you can kind of look at the planets and you can kind of see where maybe we're going to see some sort of new character come out, maybe a Journey Guide character, something like that. Which is really good. It's good to pay attention to this because clearly CG is intending for TB to be the game mode to play for many years. Like how Lights of Geo was around for a while and the other TBs before that. It's not like they come around and they're gone in a year. This one they've clearly planned out. And like I said, it's an indication of content to come. So if we was to look at some of the planets that don't have anything yet, Felucia. In fact, you talked about Young Lando. That mission at the moment, I'm not sure who's actually won it. Because Iden just kind of screws you, which is maybe a sign that we'll see some sort of new smuggler to come to boost Lando. It would make sense. And then we will be talking a little bit about Mustafa, because obviously the Scythe came. It's required on there. And Optimist actually has a really cool idea. For those of you who are trying to do that mission and maybe struggling, that we'll be talking about in a little bit. But yeah, anything else you want to add to this?
I would say, we've been speculating with every little bit of new content that comes out. And again, this is totally truthful. Glurmit and I, we talk personally and privately a lot about the game during our free time. And one of the things that came up, we predicted the new character Paz Vizsla that came out. Mm-hmm. And with that, the talks that we've had, and now further with talks that we do have, I can almost say for certain that we're going to be getting another bonus planet with Mandalore. I would argue with the new territory battle Omicron that Paz Vizsla has. When you've been playing the game long enough, or when you look at what CG is doing, CG likes to streamline a lot of their contents. A lot of what they want to do is they want to release all this new stuff, and they want us interacting with these new things. So they're going to try and find as many ways as possible to incorporate this into rewards, or incorporating this into a character that we want. Yeah. And it looks like they are going to be pushing Mandalorians very hard, very frequently, just like I would argue how Inquisitors were. Mm-hmm. We have, an epic confrontations coming, and, he has a TB Omicron, and it does fit in some missions. However, I would argue that they are going to want people to invest in Paz, invest in Epic Confrontations Bo-Katan, just like they wanted us to invest in Jedi Cal and Endor Leia. So I would be on the lookout for a new Mandalore bonus planet when it comes to this.
Well, I mean,
is just my 2 cents.
I saw Zareth also speculated as well. I mean, I think it's definitely going to come.
Yeah.
So Alex RG said they found Dathomir the easiest planet to do. They basically auto the missions of CNS or KL. Dathomir is really weird. It's one of them planets you either can't do anything or you just have the best time of your life. As long as you can prevent them revives, you'll be looking good. And now talking about speculating content, this is something we spoke about the other day, guys. So I've pulled up a Geonosis here, right? And if we look at the modifier, I hope that it actually shows here, right? It's not gonna. Can we not see the modifier on here? I'm gonna have to pull it up on the other screen.
On the wiki, I don't think you can.
That's really annoying. I thought the modifier would be on here. Anyways, guys, basically, I mean, we can kind of summarize it. What the modifier does is only for the fleets. It's gonna be. What was the modifier? It was the to do with.
Yeah. So what the modifier is in Geonosis, it's like whatever the number 3PO said, it's like 3,000 something to 1. And the modifier, what it does is whenever you inflict a ship with target lock, that ship gains stealth and foresight. And I was talking with Glermit the other day that with all of these modifiers on every planet, there is some detriment to you, but there's also that same detriment to the AI and vice versa. If you're getting a buff, generally the AI is going to get that same buff. And that's kind of the puzzle, is trying to figure out how do I use this in my benefits to, with other interactions with teams to make these missions fairly easy. And that's kind of the difference between this TB and previous TBs, where they're kind of more like galactic challenges. So when I was looking at the fleet mission for Geonosis, we obviously cannot use light side or mixed fleets because it's obviously in the dark side zone. Yep. And when you're looking at the dark side fleets, we have the Leviathan, we have the Empire fleets, we have the First Order, and we have the Malevolence. And pretty much everything that we've thrown at it just gets absolutely wrecked, except for maybe the occasional you get lucky with some dodges within an Empire fleets, and the TIE Defender can just carry you. What I'm speculating, or what Glerman and I were talking about, is it has long been anticipated that Admiral Trench might be receiving a capital ship, because as of right now, he's the only admiral in the game that doesn't have a capital ship, and Separatists are due for a new fleet edition, so to say. However, all the fleets have some sort of target lock mechanic, but the Geos themselves, there really is no target lock synergy that they have. So I'm speculating.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to jump in and say it's only some fact that actually applies target lock anyway.
And it's only when he's attacking at a turn, which he doesn't really do that much. So what I'm speculating is that what if we see, and this would be kind of similar to how Admiral Trench's kit works a little bit in the character zones here, is that Admiral Trench will actually want his ships to get target locked, because so many ships in this game love target lock, whether it's Rebels, whether it's Galactic Republic, especially the Galactic Republic with the new Marauder, whether it's Empire. They are going to interact with target lock in some way, and it'd be interesting if this fleet came in, and as a way to kind of counter all the things that are in the meta right now, is they make target lock something that you don't want to apply to them. I think that would totally change the meta, and especially for this mission, it would make it so much easier because you can actually evade some of these attacks if it can put target lock on itself or anything like that. So that is interesting, and something to keep in the back of your mind when it comes to doing these missions, because generally when CG releases these types of missions, they should be able to be completed either with a tool that they're going to release, and that's usually for missions later down the line that we can't access, or there is a strategy or a puzzle that we're missing. And obviously, since I don't think we have the current characters required to beat that mission consistently.
100% agree. So I just want to point out, I mean, lots of you probably saw Arnold's video. He's speculating, like a lot of people, that next year is going to be the year of the Clone Wars. That's when we'll see Admiral Trench's ship. And when you really think about it, and what Optimus said there about the target lock synergy, guys, I can't believe I had a real dumb moment and forgot the modifier there. But there's like he said, there's no one in this game in terms of fleets that doesn't want target lock, right? In other words, everyone wants to apply it, and no one really likes having it applied. And if you take the Marauder and how good it is now, because you just have to go back in history, they always release something insanely good, and then a couple months later, they'll come out something that just hard counters it. Whether this is a Leviathan coming out, whether this is Marauder coming out, if they released a trench capital ship and say, for example, because the modifier is that whenever target lock's applied, you stealth, right? That is the modifier. But if Trench had some sort of function in his kit where he essentially applied target lock to his own team, that would be really interesting. Now, what we kind of spoke about the other day when we were speculating, obviously, guys, this is a little bit of speculation here. There is no confirmation, but it's just based on what we know from TB, and that's kind of the point of today's talk. Is we was talking about how currently they're pushing the resilient defense buff, right? They're pushing it really hard, and we've been wondering if target lock would basically apply resilient defense to tanks or something along those lines. It would be a really interesting way for the fleet to just be insanely good, because we know how resilient defense works. It can make teams and characters very durable, because obviously there's a question, well, if you're going to target lock your own ship and then Negotiator's going to mass assist, would it just kill Sunfac? Because Sunfac, whilst he's a decent tank, he has some limitations. So we've been kind of thinking and speculating there, but again, the whole point is, guys, we're trying to explain how TB and the planets here are an indication of what's to come. You may not think it, you may not see it, but you can look at the different missions and you can kind of really work out what is to come. And I actually think this drops us into the next one. So guys, we all know about the Scythe mission in TB. It is very difficult. There are a few videos out there on how to do it, but it's still not a 100% success rate. And TB's been out for a while, and we had a ship come out a little bit ago, and I'm just going to switch over the screen here, and we believe that ship would actually make the entire thing a lot easier. And it's all because of the way Vulture Droid's mechanics work, guys. So in, I mean, you advised me to look this up. If you go into the data for the Discord missile on Vulture Droid, the special, it prefers and prioritizes the lowest survivability from the enemy side who is alive and not Imperial. And it, yeah, that's basically it. So as you guys know, you go into that mission, and unfortunately, sometimes your Empire fleet will just get zapped and die. And which ship is it that always gets targeted? Well, you can look at the stats, and you can see, if you go to the lowest health and lowest protection, which ship is very early on. Where is it? It's somewhere here. Let me just do it this way. That's because I can't spell, that's why. This Scythe, it's here, guys. See, there you go. It's literally one of the lowest here. 38,000 protection, 84,000 health. It's one of the lowest overall. And that's kind of what happens. Your Scythe gets gunned down, you lose the mission. If Scythe dies, you lose. Because it doesn't target the Imperial TIE Fighters, because it's made to ignore. Right? So there is another ship in the game that came out recently, which is actually even weaker, and that is, I'm going to bring it up on here instead. Let me go into the game. And that ship is actually the Mark 6 Interceptor. Because it's basically like a B1 droid, where they just have no health and protection, right? It's just stacks. So the idea is the Vulture droid doesn't ignore this because it's not an Imperial TIE Fighter, which means that this would soak up the first hit, and then you can kind of win from there on. Now, the only thing kind of going against that, I guess, I mean, does it go against it because it's Sith, right? And the Interceptor works with Sith. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, yeah, no, so it won't break your TIE Interceptor synergy because it is Sith.
Awesome. So yeah, you guys, you can basically just put this in, and you can run, Vader, Scythe, and the Interceptor here. And then the Interceptor will be hit, meaning your Scythe is allowed to do its stuff. You bring everyone in, and you should be okay. It's just a cool thing that we were thinking about the other day. And it kind of reinforces the idea that we were just talking about, where this mission for a long time was really difficult to beat. You can beat it. We're not saying it's impossible, but it is difficult to beat. And then a ship comes out, which potentially makes it a lot easier. And this is kind of what we're talking about. It's just, you got to look at TB in more detail, and you can use it as a speculation to see what is to come. All right, guys, let me switch over the camera.
Real quick,
again.
before we jump onto the next thing for this scythe mission here,
Yep.
I wanted to give a few more kind of closing thoughts on that.
Yeah, go for it.
One of the things when it comes to these different missions is there needs to be a way for everyone in the guild to beat the mission.
Yes.
A little bit ago, I saw something. I found a video with not a lot of views, and it seemed like a pretty consistent way to win the mission. You either use Sith Fighter in the starting lineup, or you use the TIE Interceptor in the starting lineup.
Yep.
And I believe because both of them will be weaker than the Scythe will. But the problem is that TIE Interceptor is needed for platoons in a couple of the various platoons in our guest operations.
Yes.
And so as a result, this really can't be a strategy that works for everyone because someone's going to have to give it up. And that got me to thinking, like, okay, what's a weaker ship? And again, I do want to preface, I have not tried this yet. This was something that it kind of came to me only after phase 1 had gone. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't try this now. So first thing that I'm going to be doing in the next TB is I'm going to be throwing Mark 6 Interceptor and seeing if it works. But the general consensus, because I have run it with the TIE Interceptor before and with Sith Fighter before, and the AI will prioritize those there. However, they usually will just get wrecked, whereas I think with Mark 6, you do have a chance to actually survive because it's just going to lose stacks, like Lermit said. So, again, something interesting to try and see. But yeah, something to keep in mind. If you guys have the Scythe mission and you're struggling with it, and you have the Mark 6 Interceptor at 7 stars, definitely give it a shot.
All right. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this so far. I know it's a little bit of a different type of stream. We're trying to give some decent information here. What we'll do is next time that mission comes around, I'll definitely get Optimus to come on and show us it. Is there any incentive to beat that fleet mission though? Oh, right. That's actually a really good point to bring up. So in terms of combat missions, for the most part, they're not really worth a lot. I think we can all agree that, especially in the earlier phases. You're not really going to want to beat the missions already. It can be time consuming, right? However, the fleet missions for almost every single planet are worth a lot more than the ground missions, to the point where, I mean, the Scythe mission gives you 400,000, right? 400,000 GP. And you need 248 million for the 3-star, right? So if you was getting 50 out of 50 for that mission, that's 20 million just from this. And it kind of just depends on where you're at in the game. Obviously, not everyone's, like, if you're in like a 400 or 500 mil guild, it doesn't really matter too much. But if you're someone who's maybe in a 2, maybe 300 million, or is it 300 million just to do Rise of... I'm sure it's... Wait, which one? Is it 300 mil or 200 mil for Rise of Empire? To even do it.
I believe you need 200 mil.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I actually can't remember now. I think it's 200 million. But say you're in that sort of bracket of a guild, you're not going to have enough to be 3-starring every mission anyway. So if you was to leave the dark side planet, because most people are going to go neutral, because most people want Reaver, right? So if you was to leave one of the dark side planets open for 2 or 3 phases, that's then 60 million, potentially, just from doing a fleet mission. Nothing else, just from doing a fleet mission. So yeah, I do get the point that special missions, or not special missions, but combat missions aren't... Sorry, I just reading Novelty's comment. This is the most entertaining, intelligent conversation full of information I'll never use. I love this. Well, I'm glad you're loving it. So yeah, like, for bigger guilds, obviously, it doesn't apply too much, unless you're like a completionist. But the fleet missions you shouldn't be ignoring, and that kind of goes for all the planets.
I will say that I just ran the numbers for it. So you need 248 million GP to get 3 stars in the dark side. Yep. You will get, if you do all the operations, that is 60 million just taken off. So let's just subtract that out. Yep. That is 188 million. If you were to go 50 out of 50 on the fleet mission, that is 20 million of the guild points, which is approximately 10% of the remaining points that are needed.
That's not bad.
And what that does is it then makes so that you only need to deploy 168 million more, which again, wow, you're like, wow, Optimus, that's a lot. But like when it comes to, if you're planning to kind of hold certain zones off, like if you're gonna I forget if you're going to sandbag the zone.
Yes, that's the one.
You know, this makes it easier because you can plan, okay, we're going to get this many missions here, we're going to get this many missions there, and the more points that you can get from the missions make it a lot easier when it comes to divvying out. And this is coming from someone who is a territory battle officer and who's had to make these plans here. It is really nice to know how many missions you're going to get on average. So if you can do any of them, do the fleet ones. The fleets are worth more.
Yep. 100%, and it kind of scales along, especially when you get to the later planets like Kessel, Vandor, if you've ever done them. Those ones, again, like for example on Kessel, it's 987,000 for a fleet mission, whereas it's only 493,000, so it's basically always more or less double. Rote is a lot of sandbagging and preloading, so if you can get closer to Star, the better it is. Exactly. Now, that brings us perfectly onto the next point we're going to make and talk about. And this is something I've been pushing a lot. Only because you guys know I'm a very busy guy, right? Optimus is also a really busy guy, so hopefully they understand what I'm saying here. We're not going to recommend or tell you to do this, but we just want to talk about it because it's the whole point of TV. There are plenty of omicrons to do, right? And some of them are obviously better than others, but it really comes down to time management. And one of the reasons I talk about this is because, like we just said, you know, do the fleet mission. That will maybe take you 5 minutes for each one. So you're looking at 15 minutes of your day for fleet missions only. Just grant, not every planet has a fleet mission yet. There are quite a few that don't. But if you just do that, your time's going to be a bit more manageable. Because unfortunately, you go to the later planets and some of those missions can take 10, 15 minutes for one mission. Which is really frustrating because obviously there's no timer in TB. So obviously you can go and apply a TB Omicron. Now I have one on my main account, and that is Finn. And you guys know that I joke around and we do the countdown to see how long it takes. You can beat missions in under like a minute. And when you're busy and you just want to help out the guild, again, you don't necessarily need it. I understand, and I want you guys to know that. Until you get to the later planets, you do not need to be doing the regular ground missions, but you do want to be doing the fleet ones. Having some of these, a select few, can really benefit you. So ones that I would recommend, and please jump in if you have any others here. Finn's Omicron is really good. Jedi Knight Cal's special and his lead is very good. I also think that Calf is low-key very strong. And I have
Karths is really good.
Yeah. And
Karths is really good.
Yeah, Calf's is amazing, and I have a very small suspicion that we will probably get some form of Jedi Knight Rev and Malek sort of light speed, and then everyone can have a team that can do basically any wave in TB. Because Calf with his Omicron, you can beat any mission, again, full auto, in seconds. What other Omicrons do we have for TB? Kyle's is quite good. Obviously, again...
I'm not gonna lie, all of them are really good. Yeah. Like... I think the one that might be the weakest is maybe Cassian's, just because there is, it's not quite as easy. However, I will say it works better in Rise of the Empire than it does in Lightside Geo or anything else. But this is coming from someone who I have two TB Omicrons, and I plan on giving Cal all three of his.
Yeah, Cal.
And it's just because. Obviously, you know, I think a lot of players tend to prioritize PvP, whether it's GAC or TW, which I think most people prefer GAC. However, at the end of the day, you know, this is just a game, and two, PvP doesn't really pay that much, and you can only invest in so many Omicrons to the point where you just don't use them.
Yep.
And again, value is different. Value is very subjective. One of the things for value for me is I want to be able to use characters that I like, characters that I invested in, or things that will save me time. I know with the raids, I definitely, when Bush's Omicron came, I applied that in a heartbeat, because whenever the raids come, I throw that in there, I hit auto, and I get max points every time. And at the time, I remember when Rolo's Omicron came out, I had invested in Jedi Knight Luke and JML, and I wanted to be able to use my Rolo that I took to Relic 3, which she's, you know, Relic 5 now. And that Omicron's been amazing. I get max waves every single time. And it's something that's, you know, TB is pretty monotonous, and it's something that it's hard to kind of do. I think that's one of the downsides of Rise of the Empire is there's no changes in the gameplay, so it can get boring. However, TB Omicron spice it up, and it's something that it saves time. You don't have to remod. You can just throw characters in there, hit auto, and it's great. I wouldn't necessarily recommend getting all of them because that at some point there's some crossover, but you really can't go wrong with any of them. And again, I will say the most busted Omicrons in the game, and the ones that are the most fun to play are the TB ones.
100%. And like I said, guys, we're not trying to sit here and say you have to go and apply them, but we're just saying if you're someone who's busy and you still want to be able to participate, you're not going to regret it because, again, it's an investment over time. Bush Omicron, when it was half the price and half the time it's saved on restarts, and raid was nice. Now, my only issue with Bush Omicron is the crate raid ended up being told it's going to be cancelled shortly after release, right? Because we've got the Endor raid coming. That's the only reason I didn't apply it, because I didn't apply it early. Otherwise, I would have done it. I think I'm definitely going to do Scout Troopers for the next raid. I think that makes a lot of sense. The other thing I just wanted to point out is I was looking at the planets. So most of the special missions do require particular factions, right? So on Kashyyyk, you need Saw and Rebel Fighters. Merrin needs Night Sisters, but the neutral ones don't actually require any specific faction. Interesting, right? Which means you could just do Jedi Knight Cal and do his special or his lead, and that would also just guarantee you those missions. Again, it's all about the investment, the return on investment here. Because I've done the Vandor special mission a few times now. I don't think there must be someone else out there with an R9 Young Han and Vandor. I don't know. It's probably not many. But you can do it with Lord Vader. But obviously, you might be using Lord Vader somewhere else, so it's kind of up to you to decide. But I think that kind of wraps up the TB Omicron stuff. Welcome, Nick, to the stream. And I saw...
But definitely don't be afraid of TB Omicrons. And I would say if you're this time around unlocking Jedi Cal, definitely throw an Omicron on them. Like you said, we were talking about that young Lando mission being tough to win. Throw an Omicron on Jedi Knight Cal's lead and just see where it goes. Or if there's, maybe some characters that you're not wanting to invest a full team in, throw some Omicrons on and just make that a mission you don't have to worry about anymore. So, just food for thought.
So, I think there's only really one more thing to cover, and then we'll just open up to questions for a little bit. And that is there are certain missions that require particular characters. And I just want to kind of talk with you, and we can kind of go over whether it's actually worth getting those characters, right? Is there any benefit outside of TB to having them? So if we was to go through each planet, and guys, I'll change it over again so you can see. We have you should be able to see now. So obviously Young Han and Kira is needed. You then have Dr. Aphra's needed everywhere. And Jabba's needed everywhere, right? We have the Lando's Millennium Falcon. Guess what? Everyone just got that at Relic. It's awesome. For Coruscant, we have where are they? Kit Fisto Mace is needed for a mission. We have Negotiator needed on Zepho. Clone Troopers are needed at Relics. And then Jedi Knight Cal is also needed. Unline Force users, all of those guys. As you go further, we have Wookiees are needed at Relic. Phoenix are needed at Relic. But obviously, as you go up and up, you're going to start needing higher relics. So you would need Relic 8 Phoenix. I think this is also Relic 8 tier. You need on Ring of Catherine. Which one was it? There was someone that I saw that Profundity is required. I knew one of them was Profundity. And then the last one, I think, is Baze and Chirrut are required. It's not actually showing up on here. Yeah, Baze, Malbus, Chirrut, and Scarif are all needed. So, I would say for the earlier planets, I still think the special missions is the priority you need to be doing. We've kind of spoken a lot about that today. And those of you who have just joined, then I would recommend you go back and watch the beginning. Because we went in detail about how special missions and TB can net you anywhere up to 800 Karatek a month, which is just ridiculous. I would say other than that, I'll be honest, guys, for 99% of you watching, I would not even worry about the Relic 8 onwards missions at all. Because most of you probably aren't doing it. And this is where we go back to special missions. Because if you have a guild who's... And let me just get this up for you guys. if you have a guild that is getting 37 stars, right? Something like that. Like a top tier guild.
Actually, I can put this into perspective.
Go for it.
So the guild that I'm in, Barbarism Returns, we are like 410 million,
Yep.
and we should have gotten 29 stars, but one person didn't deploy, so we got 28. But we got 29 stars, and we pretty much will get 3 stars on all of the R7 zones, and then we will get like one or whatever the math comes out to. We will preload one of the R8 zones, and I think it's usually Kessel, and just get 1 or 2 stars, and that's it. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. Like, so that's at 400 million or like 410 million. We can't touch the R8 missions just because that's a lot of R8 characters.
Well, as someone who has touched the R8 and 9 missions, guys, I will tell you now, that's when you want TV Omicrons, because those missions... I had one where I had a free morning, so I put on the game. It was Ray with Vandor and some others, because I have to use what you can. There are R8 and above. And I literally went to the shops, came back 40 minutes later, and the game was still on. And this is why I say TV Omicrons are worth it as you go up. Because once you start advancing, missions are worth more. You kind of need them until, GPs increase enough to cover the difference. It can be very stressful. So that's kind of where it becomes useful. So if we took your example 29, 5,200. And if we go back to the whole special mission thing, again, it's 2 special missions, guys. And you're basically making what those guilds do. Like, you could be doing, I don't know, like 20 stars? 20 stars, 3,800. And if you're getting 2 special missions maxed, you're making more get free than a guild getting 30 stars, and they aren't even doing anything. And then, like we said, the teams aren't bad either, guys. Like, you're not going to regret investing in Night Sisters. And as long as you ignore the Relic 8 onwards, the teams you're going to be investing in is the Smugglers, which most of you already have. And then you have Night Sisters,
I think
clones.
We forgot one. I can't believe I blanked on this. The best team you can invest in for this is Seer and Cow.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You do not need Jedi Cal to beat the mission. The playbook has a really good video on the mods that are needed. It is a little mod intensive, but it's only for 2 characters. And that is 2 characters, and as long as 30 people beat the mission, which again is a 60% pass rate, that is 2 characters at R7, that will get you to Zepho, and Zepho gets you additional Kyrotech. Yeah. That is something that I think all guilds should be pushing for, is Zepho.
100%. So we have a comment here. Would you get Cal to Relic ASAP? Or GL Leia, I assume that is, and then slowly get up Cal. I would say Leia probably makes the most sense if you're close to her. But Cal, honestly, guys, you're not going to regret investing in Cal. Because aside from TB, he's still, like, easily, like, a top 5 character right now. Like, he's insane.
He's great, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I would still say Leia would make the most sense. But Cal wouldn't be bad. 35 stars. Nice work on the 35 stars. Honestly, guys, like, I think the guild I used to be in, Bears with Sabers, we was getting 37 stars, which is amazing. But like I said, like, it's not to have any digs at anyone who's doing that well. But again, if you're a guild that's more focused and you really want to shine in a recruitment, which, guys, spoiler alert, we'll have a podcast on that in a couple of weeks, all about guild recruitments and guilds, so be tuned for that. You're going to be way more appealing, because there are a lot of people that are happy to drop down to the lower guilds if they show promise and show that they're going to be not engaging with newest content day one, but as long as they show that they're going to be at least engaging with it, right? In the sense that, Jedi Knight Cal or going for Zepho or something like that. You said like you said, Optimus, you don't need Jedi Knight Cal to make Zepho. You can do it with Baby Cal and Seer. Which I don't have my Seer at R7. I'm going to do it, and even when I have Jedi Knight Cal, I'm going to do that mission and show people it's possible, because it is. Playbook has a great video on that. And if you're a guild that's doing that and you're 300 million, 350 million, like I said, if you're ignoring the R8 sectors onwards and you're just focusing on sector 1 to 3, Relic 5 to 7, which is reasonable for most people, then you can completely outshine a guild that's doing better than that. And like I said, it's great that you're getting 35 stars, 36 stars, whatever. I think that's really good. But we're just trying to open your minds, guys, that TB, not only is it really good for rewards, but it's that future. You know, we spoke about how you can see content that's going to come. Is there anything else you'd like to add here?
No, I mean I know TB is something that a lot of people don't really like, but between TB and raids, and I would say definitely TB, the best rewards are here if your guild is willing to buy in. And I would argue, if your guild wants to be, serious about, progressing, I would say TB is something that, shouldn't be ignored. I know we talk a lot about, we talked a lot about in recent months about how, CG has done things to advance the economy of the game between gear changes, store changes, light speed packs. I think this is something that's been in the game for a long time. When we're talking about a Kyrotech bottleneck or Gear 13 bottleneck or, whatever you can buy with the guild currencies, this is something that's been readily available. And like we've shown, it is insane value that you can get by buying into the content that CG wants us to invest in.
I think what we may have to do is make like some sort of graphic together, maybe and post it, actually showing the numbers. Yeah. Right, guys, I kind of want to open this up to questions for a little bit. So I'm going to be paying more attention to the chat. And also, just let us know some feedback. This is obviously the first time we've done this. It's still new. This will be a weekly series. We're going to try and keep it the same time, same day each week. The idea of doing Tuesdays is kit reveals will come out on Tuesdays. So we should be able to also do some kit breakdowns and analyses in the future. But yeah, we're all open to suggestions. We're going to try and put this on other, like not broadcasting, but other types of medias like Spotify or something like that. So you guys can listen to it if you don't want to listen to it with ads and all of that to catch up. So have we gotten any new leaks regarding the Lightspeed bundles? As far as I'm aware, we haven't.
I don't think
we
so.
just know there's 2 new ones coming. Like I said earlier on, I am speculating one of the older characters, like maybe a Chewbacca event, maybe a Jedi Knight Revan. I don't think we'll see anything Jedi Knight Luke related because that's just opening up layer too easily. I also don't think we're going to see any GL ones for a while. After this podcast, I have to make a new account focused on TV. I love it. Guys, just remember, TV it's a game mode that's going to be here in the long run. And it's one they're going to be constantly adding to. Like we said, you don't have to do everything, but hopefully you're taking some notes here. It's a fun game mode. I like it. And also it's just nice because TB is a real sign of a well-focused roster. Because Grand Arena, you can kind of skip a few things and still do very well. But to dominate in TB, to do really well in TB, you have to have that well-rounded roster. Not too much light side, dark side, neutral, whatever. You really need to work there. Glad I'm getting into the mandatory podcast business. Absolutely, man. Right, what else do we have here? Thanks, that's what I'm going to do about Leia. Cool. Do you find that with Rote, and this is more of a question for you because you're the officer here, that there is a drop-off with motivation from guild members on average compared to GOTB, in particular due to the amount of combat missions and a 624-hour phases?
That's a good question. I've actually found it hasn't been as bad. I think the 24-hour phases makes it more consistent of knowing, okay, this is when things are up, this is when things are due. Whereas, with the 4 phases every 16 hours, it made it difficult because we were starting behind on certain phases because they're going to start in the middle of the night for some people, or they're starting at certain parts of the day, and depending on where your guild's located, that could be a big deal. Yeah. I know with hot utils has gotten a lot better with TB tools, with applying operations. I know that there's a hot utils tool where you can just assign it to people and they can just go and press a button and it'll automatically assign platoons for everyone, so that's been nice. I don't know. At least in my guilds, I've found that it's been better. We haven't had to chase people as much to get missions done.
Yep.
However, I know it's going to vary from guild to guild.
Yeah. So I will just jump in and say the guild I'm in right now, when we switched from Geo to Rote, participation went up because, guys, unless you've been playing for less than like a year, you need to understand Lightside Geo, you had to remod, you had to use very specific teams.
That was the other thing is remodding. I don't think I've ever remodded for ROTE.
I only remod for special missions, nothing else. And even then, I don't have to necessarily remod. So I do think that some people may be put off, especially the 6 phases. That kind of throws me off when you have multiple accounts and some are doing Geo and some are doing Rote. Then it causes me problems because mentally I forget which one I'm on, and that can cause issues. But overall, I think that Rote is a much better just game mode than GOTB, and it seems to show, at least from our like interactions with community members. All right, we got a question from Justin. When should a guild start focusing on platoons to do Rote full time, and what GP? That is a great question.
It's a great question. I'm not gonna lie, I would rip the band-aid off, and as soon as you do ROTE, focus on a phase and say, here's the total list, and just start divvying out platoon assignments. Just say, hey, who wants the R5 Imperial Super Commando? Who wants the R5 Ugnaught? And just rip that band-aid off, because you will gain majority of your points that you need will come from the platoons as opposed to the combat missions. And also the platoons make the combat missions a lot easier, especially like on the light side. Getting that Jedi bonus is huge, and it makes the missions much easier. Same thing on the dark side. I would say as soon as you start doing it, I would just rip the band-aid off and just start right away.
So I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this one. I think there's one platoon or one planet which you should prioritize above everything else. And that is Tatooine, because of Reaver. Like, I think if you're gonna focus in and designate people to do them, this is the one you should focus on. Because even if you don't have the necessary platoons early on, let's go back to the fleet stuff, guys. If you're doing the fleet missions, you can kind of cover a little bit from the platoons that you're missing. You can still get the staff redeploying. But what I'm going with here is, like I said earlier, you do well in TB, you're going to attract better members. If you're like a 250, 300 mil guild, and you are getting Reaver shards, some, but you show potential that you can get more. I know that was a thing for your guild where you was early on, but you had the promise that you was going to get 30 plus eventually. And hooray, your guild actually, everyone unlocked Reaver a couple of weeks ago, which is awesome. So it does show. And if you're doing some special missions away, potentially, and if you're doing well in Tatooine, you got those platoons, you may just get lucky, and you may get that, not Kraken, but that big account who wants to come down for a better atmosphere, better interaction, and then they'll cover all those weird and funky platoons no one wants to do. But like you said, I would also encourage people to, like officers, to make a post, say these are the ones we need. Would you be able to do it? I mean, normally the hardest ones are the TB characters, like not TB conquest characters like Boba Fett, Silent Django. Like that. They're always a little bit of a pain to do, but kind of just offer it. And then afterwards, you just have to, like, someone's just gonna have to take it on and do it. In terms of GP,
I'll say that was a good point that you made about the Tatooine platoons. Having the pirates not be there is such a huge change in the mission. The mission itself is already fairly easy, but usually the pirate is what can cause wins and losses, and the ability to take that away is huge.
So as far as I'm aware, is it on here? And this is really frustrating. I thought they would all show on here, and I couldn't find the neutral ones. Did I not scroll down enough earlier? On the wiki, it's not got neutral, unless I'm just missing it. I got dark side. Then we have there's no neutral on here. That's strange.
Is it under mixed, or because I'm on the wiki and I can see dark side, mixed, and light side?
Oh, can you? Maybe I'm just missing it. I don't know. Anyway. Justin was asking which platoons for Reaver are most important. I would say just getting all of them done is the most important thing. But just bear in mind, it does mean 1 or 2 people will have to do the mission without Fifth Brother, which I have a video on. It's pretty easy. It's not too difficult. So yeah.
But the Tatooine one is the most important.
Yeah,
Felucia will help, but it is not. That doesn't make or break the mission. The Tatooine one is the most important.
Yep. So, like, in terms of GP, the earlier you can do it, the better. I don't think it's really worth setting like a timeline, because every guild's different. But at the same time, if you're a guild that's put in place, like, because I know a lot of guilds have done it, and you said everyone needs to have Reaver by, I don't know, June 2024, then you should make it so everyone also has to have 1 or 2 platoon characters done by June 2024, because that way you don't end up with a problem where you have 50 people with Reaver and you're only getting 20 shards, and it's kind of demoralizing, and people get upset, and people will leave. Getting the platoons done are important. Like Optimus said, it's not like the mission is incredibly hard, but I've coached a couple of people, last TP as an example, where the pirate did just ruin the entire thing. It can happen. It's not often. Totally agree with that. Until pirate is not there, do some stream with someone that can help. Exactly. But hopefully, guys, we've been going for, normally we go about for 90 minutes. We're just under that today. This was the first one for the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit different. And like I said, I'll try and put it on like some sort of streaming platform so you guys can listen to it without ads, or just when you're on the way to work or doing something else. I've really enjoyed doing this. I'm glad that we finally did this together. I know we actually tried something when I first made this channel. We did 1 or 2 of these, didn't we?
Yeah, we did 1 or 2 of them. I think we did it about Conquest. I think like it was like when Conquest first started. I think we did one, and oh God, that was ages ago.
I said 1 second. I'm just changing over the footage. Anyways, guys, we tried our best to make this flow as well as possible. Obviously, the first couple are always going to be we're trying to get used to it. We are planning on bringing guests in the future. I've already got a couple people interested. If any of you know anyone who would be interested, not just content creators, we're looking for people with just a different perspective on the game. Maybe they know something that we don't, because we want to be going in depth on different topics and really giving you guys an idea of something you may not have known, like how we broke down the Scythe mission, how we spoke about maybe Trench coming. So yeah, hopefully you guys look forward to that. MDA is not guest speaker. MDA is co-host Candy Club. He's going to be here again. Don't worry. Just so you guys know, it will be me and MDA or Optimist throughout these, and then we'll bring other people on in the future. Anyways, guys, I hope you've all enjoyed the stream or the podcast, whatever you're listening to, and just comment afterwards on the video and let us know any suggestions, because we are open to everything and anything here. And as always, guys, my name is Glumit. This is the Optimist, and I hope you guys have a glowing day. There we go.